With the current lack of mortgage finance hindering first-time buyers, buying a house with family or friends is a good way to get on the property ladder. But it's important to get it right from the start. Bolton King, Chief Executive of the NAEA, takes you through some top tips to help make it a positive experience.
Buying a property jointly with friends and family might at the moment seem a very sensible thing to do, and indeed for many people it is a way of getting onto the housing ladder. But you have to be careful on this, because although you might be buying with your best friend today, will your best friend be your best friend a few weeks, months, years down the line? And I think it's important that you always look at the worst case scenario, even though it might be quite difficult to actually think about that at the moment. But you need to take proper advice and take some simple steps to ensure that if something horrible happens, that you actually can extract yourself from the situation you find yourself in. And one of the ways of doing this is taking legal advice on a thing called a co-ownership agreement. And what that does right at the start is sets out some very simple things, such as what happens if one person wants to sell the property, what happens to the furniture in the property, how are you going to pay, if it's a flat for instance, for any shared costs that have to be paid. So the document that will set all of these things out. So it's like a book that in the worst case scenario you can turn to and follow and avoid some of the problems you otherwise would get. So great idea, but take proper legal advice and make sure you do it properly. Some of the other things you might want to consider to avoid any nasties are, for instance, drawing up an inventory. Why would you want to do that? Well, you can list out the things that are shared, the things that aren't shared, so there's no argument whatsoever as to who owns what. I'd also suggest it might be worthwhile looking at setting up some form of joint bank account so that there's a fund there, you know how much has been paid into for the things that have to be paid out in respect to the property. Bear in mind also that it can be easier to go and get a particular type of mortgage. There are mortgages around specifically aimed at joint ownership like this, joint purchasing. So go and take proper advice and see what mortgages might be available. Remember, this may be your home, but you've got to look at this as a business transaction as well. So don't be scared, but make sure you do all the things properly and take the right advice.